What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more classical music. And we're going to listen to one of my all-time favorite classical CDs. I was browsing through my classical collection, which honestly is even bigger than I remembered, and I came across a CD from a collection that I believe was released in 1999, and which I ended up getting a few different installments of, which is to say, as I mentioned before, late 90s, early 2000s, I really dove headfirst into classical music on my own, meaning I grew up listening to my dad's collection, and I've since inherited a lot of the CDs and even some records from his collection. But by the late 90s, early 2000s, I began sort of exploring on my own, and I would go to CD stores, go to their classical section. I'd often look for more economical labels, which is to say, like Decca, Deutsche Grammophon, those tended to be more expensive, but Naxos and this collection here, which I think is called Classical Evolution, and Adamus, those were cheaper. They were, more economically priced, and perhaps because, it's not the most famous orchestra conducting them or performing them. Nevertheless, I got a few of these CDs, so I found earlier Modest Mussorgsky's Pictures at an Exhibition, the orchestral renderings of them, and I was reminded when I saw the CD case, I was like, oh wait, I have a Gioachino Rossini Overtures Volume 1 CD from the same collection, and I was searching through. I eventually found a different performance of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, the Choral Symphony. I did just react to that, so we might wait for another version later on. Nevertheless, I eventually came across the Gioachino Rossini Overtures Volume 1 CD, which is performed by the Plovdiv Philharmonic Orchestra. Plovdiv, I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but it's a city in Bulgaria, I think one of the biggest cities, maybe the second biggest, and it is conducted by Ruslan Raichev. So this is from 1999. People who know Rossini will know his overtures have a lot of fire, they're very dramatic, they remind me in some ways of compositions by Beethoven, which, if I'm making that comparison, it's a guarantee that I'm very fond of them. And I would argue, for my money, the best symphonic overtures I've ever heard come from Rossini, and it's due in part to my enjoyment of this CD, which in the early 2000s I caned, to use a techno world term. So yes, I'm hugely fond of this CD. It's got a lot of his famous overtures on it, including, maybe most notably, The Thieving Magpie. I think that's one that a lot of people will know, and also the one we're going to start with, the first track, The Barber of Seville. But it also has The Italian Girl in Algiers. I think that's excellent. The Silken Ladder, The Siege of Corinth, the Semiramis, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, and Tancred. So it has a lot of really great overtures. And yes, I used to listen to this all the time. It's what made me a fan of Rossini's music and made me very keen to hear overtures. So yes, we're going to listen to the overture for The Barber of Seville, which, if you've ever seen a Looney Tunes cartoon with Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd, where the former gives the latter a haircut, you will have heard this. I think it shows up in some other places, but for those of us of a certain generation, I think that's a natural reference point. But yes, it's just a really great performance. I think the Philharmonic Orchestra here, Plovdiv, does a very good job, so let's give it a listen. This is Gioachino Rossini and his Overture for the Barber of Seville, as performed in a 1999 collection on Classic Evolution by the Plovdiv Philharmonic Orchestra and conducted by Ruslan Raichev. imagine that as an appetizer for a larger and longer composition, which is to say, overtures, to my understanding, were essentially used as the opening tone and mood setting pieces for operas and other longer compositions. So imagine hearing that and then it's like, wait, we're going to listen to more music after that? That was, worth the price of admission alone. So yes, I think it's classic. It makes sense to me that the very sort of mischievous or like mysterious part was used in that classic Looney Tunes cartoon, because there's again a bit of mischief to it. It sounds like there's some trouble afoot, and I think that melody, that bum 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 bum, I think that really has a like earworm type quality. I think it's like a hook. It's like a classical melody as a hook, and it's the part I think for many people that you will remember. Now there's a lot of other great sections throughout the course of the overture, and I like the way it gets to this galloping type of rhythm and phase by the end, and I like the way it alternates back and forth across the duration between more energetic and intense string work and then lighter and sweeter melodic moments, and it goes to different parts of the orchestra. Even with the violins you get both bowed sections but also some pluck sections. The horn, like the brass, comes in very regally at one of the points along the way, so I like the balance across the course of the orchestra. But yes, I will say Rossini, not unlike his countryman, what am I saying? Vivaldi. I was like, wait, I'm forgetting his name. Not unlike his countryman Vivaldi, I think was very good at writing for strings. I think his violin writing is fantastic, and I think this is another good example of that. So yeah, it's a powerhouse. It's a like 7.5 minute powerhouse of an overture. I think this is a really good performance. I did notice here, this is not something I remember, there was a moment where you could hear someone like cough in one of the quiet moments, which again, when you record something in a live setting, there's always the possibility that might happen, or you can hear people shuffling in their seats in some of the quiet moments. But yes, I think it's a really good performance, so shout out once again to the Plovdiv Philharmonic Orchestra and to the conductor Ruslan Raichev. I think this is a very good rendering of it. And yes, so we found the next classical journey that we're going to take. I really do want to go through all 7 tracks on here, not only because I think they're just good performances of really epic overtures, but this CD in particular has a lot of nostalgic value to me, because as I said, when I was like 21, 22, I listened to this relentlessly. It's like once or twice a week this was in my CD player in my car, or at home. Honestly, I listened to classical music in different venues back then. So I really am looking forward to going through the rest. The next one in the list is The Italian Girl in Algiers, another really great one. I think Italian Girl in Algiers, Thieving Magpie, and Barber of Seville, maybe in that order, were the 3 that I really, really enjoyed, but I think all 7 here are great. So let me know what you think of this, and we'll be back for that one next time. Peace.